Many people blame their genetics for bottlenecking their progress, and that's certainly possible, but that's not usually the case for most people because most people just haven't trained consistently for long enough to run up against their genetic limitations. And genes do make a huge difference, but building great fitness and an aesthetic physique, that doesn't require top tier genetics at all. Nothing about your genes needs to be extraordinary for that. But if you're an average person, what does need to be extraordinary is your consistency. Most people are just never consistent enough with their diet and training to actually see what their genetics can do. They just kind of stay a beginner forever, and they assume that their underwhelming response is due to their genes. Now, there's no doubt that the range of starting points in genetic responses is enormous, and some people seem to respond well to just about anything, and their starting point is incredible. But that's not most of us, obviously, and that doesn't mean the rest of us are doomed to mediocre fitness and aesthetics. We may not have the genes to be a bodybuilder or a fitness model or something like that, but that doesn't mean we can't all make some great progress given our genetic draw and build an athletic version of ourselves with some great health and fitness. You just have to do it long enough. Even if your genes are not great, we all have the capacity to adapt to training. But we have to be uncompromising in our consistency to give our genes a chance to actually express themselves. So you can think about it like this. Adaptation to training is something that we're all capable of, and while some people have an unusually strong genetic response to training, most of us don't, and it's a very slow process. And that makes sense because biologically, adaptation is risky and it's expensive. If you want to maximize the process, it takes an abundant and stable environment. So that means, plenty of food and sleep, and those were not always reliably available in our past. So it's risky in the sense that if your body spends precious resources adapting to the wrong stimulus, you may find yourself poorly prepared for a different environment in the future, and then without enough resources to make a new adaptation to thrive in it. So practically, this means, you shouldn't be surprised if you didn't get super jacked after your first 8-week program. This doesn't mean that you're bumping up against the limits of your genetic potential. You just need to make training and a good diet a lifestyle and not a short-term intervention. The stimulus needs to be consistent. It needs to be so consistent that the only reasonable biological response is adaptation. And then you need sleep and good food to give your genetics the opportunity to actually do something about the new lifestyle. So think of this process in terms of years and not weeks. So, don't worry about your genetics. You got what you got. Just focus on creating a sustainable lifestyle that will trigger the adaptations you want. Plan on doing it forever, and you'll be surprised at how you'll transform over time. I hope that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.